TruthSeekah and/or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and/or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah Podcast.
Gargoyles! Psychics! Everything's ungodly! Dark savage!
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian!
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark savage stuff!
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? This is the TruthSeekah Podcast. I'm your host, TruthSeekah. Excited and delighted to be with you guys again for another amazing episode. Again, we cover all things spiritual on this podcast, and that's what we're going to be talking about, spirituality. I like to talk about the paranormal a little bit, spirits, demons, angels, and anything and everything in between, and exorcisms, and we're going to be talking about that today with my guest. I want to say a huge thank you to everybody who's supporting my work via Patreon. You guys are enablers, co-creators for this podcast. It doesn't exist without your support. So I want to say a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart to everybody support my work via Patreon. If you'd like to support, please head on over to patreon.com/TruthSeekah. There, you get access to my entire discography of music, which is 200 plus songs. You get access to our Thursday night School of the Mystics. There's all kinds of stuff over there. Occasionally do discounts on merch and meditations, and just try to make it worth your while. Check it out. Patreon.com/TruthSeekah. We have t-shirts, all of that cool stuff. It's available on the website, TruthSeekah.com as well. Special thank you to one of the newest patrons within the last week or so. Shout out to Jesse. Jesse. Jesse, thank you for coming on, supporting the work. It means the world. So yeah, check it out. Also, my new book is here. Just turned 2 months old. Spirit Realm, Angels, Demons, Spirits, and the Sovereignty of God. If you guys haven't had a chance to check that out, make sure you go to Amazon and get yourself a copy. It's packed full of info and just kind of covers everything that I've had experiences with or encounters with in the spirit, whether it's good entities, bad, demons, angels, all that stuff. I know it interests you guys, really interests me, and we're going to get into a little bit of that today with my guest today, Jarrett, aka Heaven's Messenger. Jarrett, welcome to the TruthSeekah Podcast, man. How are you on this day after Christmas?
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure. I'm doing all right. It was a bit of a long evening with some sick kids, and I'm not even sure exactly where you are, but I'm up in Canada where it's freaking freezing cold. So we're doing the best that we can under the circumstances. Yeah,
I'm in Alabama. It's not cold. We had a hot Christmas, so I hate that.
Well, in some ways, I wouldn't have minded a little bit of sunshine and heat.
The grass is always greener.
Sweet.
It's good stuff, man. Well, man, you just put out a book. Your book is under the same title, Heaven's Messenger. You're a clairvoyant, exorcist, demon hunter, talk about some of these different spiritual abilities, we call them. One of the things I think is interesting to note that it says that you were all of this stuff from birth, like it was a natural thing that happened, and that's a really cool thing to get into, like how you first got into the work that you're doing and how you got into these abilities and stuff. So I definitely want to get into that, but for people who don't know who you are, just kind of give a brief overview of who you are, what you do, and what you bring to the table.
Sure. Well, look, to keep it simple, first and foremost, I'm a regular guy. Sure, I call myself Jared Heaven's Messenger. I'm a vessel for above. I'm no more special or better than any other human being. I've been given a gift, and I try to use it to the best of my ability. And of course, I knew as a child that I was different, but I didn't understand what it was, what I had, or what I was supposed to do with it. That came a lot later on. But I'm just a regular guy. I enjoy my whiskey and cigars and my sports. And I got a family, and I have my tattoos, and I enjoy going on the motorcycle for a ride here or there. I'm just one of the guys. And like I said, I don't claim to be holy or a saint. I don't call myself a guru or any of this stuff. I'm just a regular guy doing the best that I can with the gift that I've been given.
Doing God's work, spreading the message. That's what it says on your website and your book. What is the message, man? What is the overall message behind everything that you do? I know it has many facets, but there's a message, and you're the messenger. So what is the message?
Well, the main message, and again, I'm always very hesitant to give a message for almost 8 billion people. But as someone pulls a card on the internet and have a message for 8 billion people, it's nonsense. But there is one main message that I think we all need to follow. And it doesn't matter your race, background, color, or religion. We all need to be good and kind, and we need to try to make a positive difference for humanity, for animals, for the earth. The main reason we're here is to spread goodness and kindness. And a lot of people think it has to be a major event. Like if I stop a child from climbing the walls because he's possessed, everyone thinks that they need to do something that big. And I found, and I'm going to quote Gandalf from The Lord of the Rings, where he says that I found that sometimes the smallest act of kindness will make the biggest difference. And I think that's the biggest message that we need to hear as humans. Don't judge others, and be good and kind, and try to make a difference where you can.
That's good, man. It sounds like something that I talk about a lot, like spirituality is deep and mystical. We're going to get into that stuff, but it's practical at the same time, right?
It's extremely practical. And like I said, a lot of people believe that they need to be a guru or they need to have tremendous amounts of knowledge about the spirit world. Absolutely not. The main purpose is to do something positive for ourselves and for other people. And you don't need to be Einstein, and you don't need to be a guru to do that. Just we need to be ourselves and remember to do unto others that we want done unto ourselves. And I don't care what religion someone is. At the end of the day, that's the most important thing. We can know the Bible inside out, but if we're not good or kind, what freaking difference does it make if you can quote the Bible word for word?
Yep. I'm with you on that, man. So let's go back to the origin story, bro. Like, what opened up these doors to the supernatural, to the other side? What got you into this type of work?
Well, as I got a little bit older, that the weight, so to speak, on my shoulders got extremely heavy, and I started to understand that it's not to simply see things, predict things, feel things, that I need to do something with it. I need to put this gift to good use. And it just got to a point where I understood now's the time for me to find out exactly what I have and what I need to do with it. And, I'll tell you very, very quickly the story. It's in my book, where I asked for guidance, and I got a name, and I researched the name, and I called the guy. Never spoke to him before. He was a Native American fellow here in Canada, and he was waiting for my call. He said, you're the guy I've been waiting for. And I knew I had the right guy. I went to meet him, and he helped me to understand what it is that I had, what I needed to do with it, and how to open up properly, because you walk a very fine line when you're in the spirit world and the physical world at the same time. And the spiritual world is beautiful. It's incredible, but it's extremely dangerous. And you walk a very, very fine line between sanity and insanity, between reality and what's not real. And thank God I had that person there who was able to help guide me the right way to be able to unleash, so to speak, what I had within me to be able to make a positive difference, and doing so without losing my mind.
Did you ever lose your mind?
I'd like to think I haven't. I've seen a lot of things, from kids climbing the walls to disgusting demons to, unfortunately, people dying. I've seen it all. So I've seen a lot of things that are very hard for the average person to take in. But I think I've done a pretty good job of being able to keep shit together, so to speak.
Yeah.
And to continue my mission of helping others. So I might have walked that line once or twice, to be honest with you. But I'm pretty confident that I never crossed it.
Yeah, I crossed it. That's why I ask. It wasn't to take a jab or shot. It's like I literally have been in a place where like you feel like these entities are overpowering you. Like I wasn't covered. I wasn't doing the inner work. I was a misguided youth doing all of these spells and rituals and stuff like that, and really crossed into some of that territory. Like you said, can be dangerous. I really believe in the statement, as above, so below, as within, so without. So like this mirror image of
Yes.
What goes on spiritually in the spirit realm, like you said, and then going on in the physical reality, and then in the heavens as well, what we would call outer space, if you will. But you said that you got to be careful walking around and kind of navigating through some of the places in the spirit realm. It's very much like that in the physical as well, right? There's some neighborhoods that you gotta be on your toes when you go there. Now you can pass. If you have business to do, you got somebody to see, there's a reason for you to be there. Hey, he's with me.
Correct.
Don't touch him. I got him. And so you'll be protected, right? So it kind of mirrors that a little bit, don't you think?
I agree 100%. And I'll just take it a step further, if I may. You mentioned how everything mirrors up above, so as below, and it's 100% accurate. That veil, that line is getting thinner and thinner as this, I'll call it this battle, what many people in the Bible Belt would call Armageddon, for example. We are in that battle between good and evil, light, darkness, God, evil, whatever you want to call it. And the veil between the physical and the spiritual world is getting thinner and thinner and thinner, which is why there's so many different things happening. And one of my biggest issues in the spiritual field, so to speak, and why I say it's dangerous, I don't have to worry about evil entities because they don't like me. They stay far away from me. I'm known as being a foremost exorcist. People have contacted me from over 60 countries. I have plenty of videos, proof, text messages where demons will do everything in their power to stay as far away from me as they possibly can. But the average person doesn't have a gift that reaches to that extent. So when they open a door to the spirit world, what I tell people, you can't open it to one side. You're opening it to both light and shadow. And the devil doesn't come to you with a pitchfork and horns. The devil comes as your best friend with a bouquet of roses, a bottle of scotch,
Sure.
Whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And that's what is so dangerous is nowadays anyone can take a course. Anyone can get involved easily into the spirit realm. And I try to explain to them that it's not a joke. They sell Ouija boards at Walmart. And there are kids getting possessed because they're playing around with the Ouija board thinking that it's a toy as opposed to a means to get to the spirit world. And this is one of the big problems right now. Excuse me.
Let me unpack that a little bit. What you just said, that you're one of the first and foremost exorcists. You have this whole list of things that you've done, and you're a powerhouse in the spirit realm and fighting evil and things like that. And you have this supernatural authority even, and you've done the work, you've done the homework, you've done the research, and you've got the scars to prove it. What is that contingent on that you stay that? Like that stays, and then, or you lose your power. We see like in the Bible, like there was an instance where, again, kind of getting into, it kind of tends to what you were saying, was I think it was the 7 sons of Sceva, I think is what they called them, and they were trying to cast out a demon out of somebody. And they didn't do the inner work. They weren't who they said they were. And the demon looked at him and said, "Hey, I know Paul, I know Jesus, but who are you? We don't even know you. And, hell has no mention of your name. We don't know you here. And the dude overpowered them with this supernatural strength, of which happens through demonic possession and exorcism sometimes. And they ended up beating up the guys. This one person beat up all the guys and pretty much ripped all their clothes off, and they ran away naked. Like, what is it contingent that hell knows your name, that you're somebody who's going to continue to walk in the spirit? Is it a certain lifestyle laid down? Is it that you say your prayers? Is it that you're faithful with these things that God has given you? Is it contingent upon anything, or I mean, how would you explain that to people to continue to walk at that level?
Well, I think that's an amazing question. Thank you. And again, I just want to repeat that it's not that I'm necessarily a powerhouse. I'm just a regular guy who's a vessel. The question is, but who am I a vessel for? So when I do an exorcism, whether it's an archangel, whether it's Jesus himself who uses my body to perform it, and I've got tons of videos and images where people have seen all kinds of stuff. And I want to just say that if you didn't know, I'm one of the few people in the world who suffer stigmata. And I'm assuming, being in Alabama, you sure as heck know what stigmata is. Oh, yeah. Okay, and people have witnessed it, okay? Now, what do I need to do to keep up this mission, so to speak? I'm not a holy roller. Like I said, I'm a regular guy. I do my prayers. I believe in God. But I have a mission to fulfill. And am I using this ability for good or bad? And that's what it comes to. People tell me all the time, well, can't you predict the winning lottery number? Well, if I were to try to do that, then I wouldn't exactly be using it for humanity. I'd be using that ability for myself, right? So I think what it's truly contingent on is that, number one, no matter all the hardships that I go through, and I make tremendous sacrifice, and I carry burden that the average person cannot even fathom doing what I do, and I don't give up, and it's a daily struggle and a daily battle, and no matter how hard it gets, I have in my mind to do God's work and to make a difference and to fight evil and to spread goodness and kindness. And I think that's really what it's contingent on. God doesn't expect me to be perfect. He doesn't want any of us herself, as opposed to helping others. That might be when he steps in and says, well, hold on a second there.
Yeah. I've heard it said, service to others over service to self, but it's like kind of the rule. But service to others is service to self, especially when you understand that everyone is an extension of you. Everyone is family. Everyone is a brother. So service to others is service to self. So yeah, there's like a code of ethics. There's like, you got to make sure that you're staying at that. I think that there's things that just like those other people can do to open up themselves to these entities, we can do as well, right? Even though you're walking in the spirit and you got all this stuff going on, like it's a narrow path is what the Bible would call it. We'd say a fine line, that you have a thin line, even if you will. But there's stuff that you can do that you open up yourselves to these entities. But I think you count the cost, and you know that I don't need to open up doors to this kind of stuff because it is serious. It is dangerous. It's different when you know about it, because most of these people who are contacting you, they have no idea even what's going on, right? They're new to it all. Hey, this is happening in my home. My son is doing these destructive behaviors. I need help. I don't know what it is. And but it's different once you kind of know. And I think the more you kind of walk in those levels and have more experience, you begin to kind of have some rules and things for yourself. Okay, this is how you find out what the name of the spirit is. This is how you cast it out. This person has to kind of renounce, these ties that they've made and things like that. You kind of gain some experience, right?
Absolutely, and it's an adaptation even for me. I've been doing this a while. But every day I'm learning. Every day I'm able to do some things that I haven't been able to do before. And I think it's very similar to everyday life. The day that we think we know it all, the day that we think we don't need to learn anymore, it's I live my life understanding that as much as I think I know, there's so much more that I do not know.
Yeah. What about what were some of the first experiences that you had? Again, going back to the origin stuff, was there any like paranormal, supernatural experiences that you had as a child that kind of opened up the door for this exploration into this stuff?
Okay, I think one of the craziest, or maybe scariest, not that I was scared, but what other people deem scariest, as a teenager, I was once at a party, and we used to be a crew of guys, as you said, we all kind of had a very interesting youth where we didn't necessarily follow the Bible the way we should have. And I was at a party with a bunch of people, and there was a girl that we knew, gorgeous girl. And she had this ability where she was able to get all the guys that she met to fall for her. And, she would sleep with them and then break their heart the next day. And I was the only one that she couldn't get. And I'll never forget the moment I used to have hair back then, unlike now. So I went into a room at a house party, and I started combing my hair. And the room was dark. She walks in. She stands next to me. She looks me in the eyes. And it was at that moment I understood that she wasn't even human. She was a demon. I could see no soul. Her eyes were black. And she looked at me and she said, "You don't know who you are yet, Jared." She said, "But there's a reason you were the only one that I couldn't get." She said, "But I'll tell you something." She said, "My side will win this battle, not God." And then she left. And I never saw her again. And it was worst experiences that I had where I truly understood that evil is not a joke, and it takes many forms, shapes, and sizes. And that's when it got me thinking, well, hold on a second. What can I do to make sure that she's not right, to make sure that it's not her side that wins this battle, so to speak? And you're talking, I was maybe 15, 16 years old. So it was quite traumatizing.
That's interesting, man. We just did an episode before this one about the spirit of Jezebel, and it's talking about, this sexual, promiscuous, whoredom, even energy that kind of comes in and kind of almost like a black widow or something, like kind of sets its eyes on something, and it's going to do anything that it can to manipulate and to lie and to deceive or to use its beauty. And, to kind of lure people in. And that's really interesting. It sounds like you had a run-in with some type of similar spirit like that.
Oh, I've had quite a few run-ins with spirits like that, so to speak. And what's interesting is, everything is energy. God isn't a man in the clouds. God is an energy. And even Albert Einstein used to speak about everything is an energy. And I always tell people, making love, having is not a sin. Where we need to be careful and where God is warning us is that be careful who you share energy with. We realize whether it's a one-night stand or whatever the case may be, we get caught up that it's not a big deal, but we're not just sharing our body. We're sharing energy. And I think people need to understand that whatever we do, there's an exchange of energy. And when we're doing it with beings or people who don't have the right intentions, it becomes dangerous. And like the Chinese torture, the drop of water on the forehead every few seconds, that negative energy pounds us and it weakens us and it wears us down.
That's interesting you say that too, because it's, kind of tying the two together. There was a lady that I interviewed, and I didn't know this was the deal. But later into the interview, she was talking about how she was in a relationship with a member of the Ashtar Command, of this entity that lives on another planet, and they were like romantically engaged. I think she even said that they had children, and this weird stuff. And it was a very weird interview. But again, like 2 days ago, a friend of mine shared another video with this guy, which I've seen him before, but there was a newer interview with this guy who claims to have relationships with these alien beings and have like 70, 80 kids from these off-world entities. Have you ever looked into that at all? Is that like a entryway for demonic possession, or
Yes.
Strong
Yes.
delusion or something that comes in with that?
Well, it absolutely is an entry to that, and I'll take it a step further. And again, I can only offer, as you know, my opinion based on my experiences. And I always tell people they may have different experiences that give them a different opinion. Now, I believe in aliens, so to speak, and extraterrestrials, but I don't believe they're from other planets. I believe it's, I'm going back to the Old Testament and the ancient Hebrew. I'm a Hebrew, by the way, so I speak Hebrew. And I go back to the Old Testament where God says they fell once and they fell again. He wiped them out the first time with the flood of Noah. I believe that these beings that people think are from other planets are actually the which were children of humans and the fallen angels. So I believe that these people are sane and that they're telling the truth and they are sleeping with other beings. My issue is they may think that it's certain beings, but they're actually sleeping with demons, with the fallen angels. And that's my opinion based on experiences that I've had and people have come to see me. I get calls all the time from people who tell me they're getting raped in the evening by entities that they can't even see. And I believe it 100%. And if we call it what it is, no good entity, nothing in the light is going to rape someone in the middle of the night. It's never going to be a positive thing, if you follow me.
Yeah, there's some crazy stories, and I don't think, like I said, I don't, anything that goes against your free will, it's very strange, some of that stuff to think about it. Now, especially when it comes to the paranormal, I know we kind of are in those realms a little bit. When, the stories I like to hear are the ones, whether it was aliens or whatever it is, when the supernatural becomes natural, when something from the spirit realm or from space, whatever, crosses into our reality, when you like physically see something, whether it's an apparition of an old woman, a ghost at a graveyard, whether it's, UFOs in the night sky, whatever it is. I've seen some entities, whether it's angels and beautiful creatures or whatever, fairies, goblins, I don't care. But it's something when they cross over, it does something, because it's not like in the spirit. It's not a theory. It's not a legend. It's like literally, look, I've seen this myself. Have you had those encounters where something literally crossed over and like appeared as an apparition, or you've seen something that was just otherworldly in our realm?
Every day. Every single day. And very often when someone comes to my office, sometimes they faint. Sometimes they start sweating and they're pointing. They're like, Jesus is next to you, or there's angels here. Even people coming into my office can see it. With the work that I do, when I walk somewhere, it has to be with an army. I can't do it alone. I'm just a man. And regular, everyday people can see it. So whenever someone tells me I saw a spirit in my home, or I saw a ghost, or I saw an angel, or I saw a demon, I don't doubt them for a second. Because every single day I see it, and I'll take it a step further. There are angels and demons in human form that are walking among us, not just from the spiritual realm, that are actually in human form.
All right. We had a question here in the chat. Somebody was asking, just to go into a little bit of information about demonic pacts, like making pacts with demons. I mean, that's a whole probably episode in and of itself, right? I think there's pacts that we make unknowingly by the actions and things that we do, whether it's playing with a Ouija board, whether it's sending out ill intentions and evil thoughts. Like, I think that there's some weird stuff that we don't even know about, that we're entertaining these type of entities. But I know when you're young and you watch a lot of horror movies or supernatural movies and stuff like that, people are making blood pacts, right? They're cutting their wrist or arms or fingers, and they're making these blood oaths with the devil and demons and stuff like that. And for teenagers, at least for me, I was a teenager. That's why I'm referring to teenagers. But I'm sure there's a lot of adults who are curious about this too. But if you feel like I've already sold my soul to the devil and there's nothing I can do, and there's this weird fear that comes upon you, and people are scared to, like, I'm sure you get these messages all the time. Hey, I sold my soul to the devil. I don't think I can get it back. Those type of things. How does that work with making pacts with demons, and maybe the sovereignty of God and Christ comes in? Like, because I remember I told the guy who actually discipled me that, hey, I gave my soul to the devil. And I remember, like, I was afraid of the devil coming for me, and it would torture me with nightmares and hearing stuff walking through my room at night. And I thought the devil was coming for me because I wrote it down on paper and burnt it and made, did these little rituals and stuff. So I felt like I gave him my soul. Now he owned it. And he was like, no. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Like, Jesus comes to give life, and he has defeated the enemy, and he kind of walked me through this knowledge of Christ and who he is. How does that work, do you think? Is it kind of similar to that? Because, like, if someone believes it, then it becomes real to them until they have knowledge otherwise about the saving grace of Christ and things like that, right?
Absolutely. And look, it all comes down to free will. And I just want to say something very quickly before I answer that question. I can't even help anyone without their free will. I've had people refuse to give me permission to help them, and I can't take away their free will. Now, as for someone who sold their soul, it's actually way more common than people can imagine. It's happening every day and by the thousands, if not by the millions. But what you said is very accurate and very interesting. It's never too late it comes down to free will. The moment that you decide that that soul belongs to God and not to the devil starts losing power. And generally the people who stay in these pacts, who make these deals with the devil, many, we know many in Hollywood do, many in the entertainment industry do, it's because they don't want to lose what it is that they have. And they know that if they try to go back on the deal, the devil's going to take away everything that he gave them. So 100% anyone who wants to go back to God can absolutely do so. It is never too late, ever.
Yeah, that's awesome too, and it's interesting. Again, you bring up Hollywood and things like that, and there's tons of videos and there's tons of symbolism and all of these demonic things like that, and we use symbolism, like what I'm saying. Symbolism that it only has power to what I'm saying, really what you attach to it, and they've taken some symbolism and they've perverted it and things like that. But the interesting thing is there are a lot of people in Hollywood coming out of that stuff. A lot of old rockers who are getting born again. Brian Head Welch from Korn, he's a born again believer. Dave Mustaine, Zach Wilde, like all these people are becoming vocal about their faith. Alice Cooper, you know what I'm saying, are talking about their faith in Christ and how they got born again and stuff like that. And I think that's really interesting that these people are like, hey, yeah, that stuff's real, and I'm gonna choose to follow Christ and to follow the light. And that's really awesome that a lot of celebrities are coming out of that stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And as you can see with many of these celebrities who are turning the page, so to speak, to become better people and do the right thing, a lot of them get blackballed or blacklisted afterwards.
Yep.
Right. But it just shows the power of God, the power of light, the power of goodness, when they will give up a lot of the stuff they had to do the right thing. We were talking earlier about what type of path. Offered briefcases full of cash, my friend, and I got 5 kids to feed, and I've been offered all kinds of cash to do things, and I refuse to. Don't give in to the greed, and you do the right thing, and that's why I appreciate.
Now, when it comes to haunted houses, again, you're talking about like people having these experiences in their house with weird anomalies and weird things happening, whether they open up doors and now there's a...
Were you able to catch everything I mentioned before?
Yeah. Most of it towards the end, and you broke up a little bit at the end. But when it comes to ghosts, man, what are ghosts, do you believe? Like when you get, are they demons? Are they literally spirits of the deceased that are trying to come through? Like what are ghosts when people are researching that?
Well, in my humble opinion, and I do many haunted homes, and unlike what you see on TV with ghost hunters, I don't go with machines, cameras. I go with my hands and my eyes to clear entities. Now, everyone talks about ghosts, but they're actually not that common. A spirit is when we die, our soul goes to the spirit realm. A ghost is a spirit that gets stuck here. A ghost is in between the spirit and the physical, which is why very often people will see a ghost at the same time, at the exact same place in a home. Some of the ghosts don't even realize that they're dead. So it's literally a spirit stuck in a physical environment. And it's not that common. When I do a haunted home, 9 out of 10 times there's not a ghost. It's evil spirits or demons that are hanging around the home. But Hollywood calls it ghosts, right? But in my opinion, a ghost is really just a soul that's stuck and needs help crossing over. They can't do it on their own.
What about contacting the dead? That's a controversial one. Even in the Bible, there's some weird, obscure verses that kind of pointed to some saints and even Jesus communing with the saints of old and things like that. But it's really taboo for the majority of Western Christianity. It's a no. You don't contact the dead. But I'll say, well, what about, okay, if we don't contact the dead, what happens when the dead contacts you? Our ancestors are crying out. They have messages. They want the bloodline healed. You know, a lot of different theories or something like that. What about contacting the dead?
Well, look, this is where it gets a little controversial. And as I mentioned, I'm Hebrew, okay? So it's not just a taboo for Western Christianity. It's a taboo for us Jews. I mean, you know, when I encounter big rabbis, they cross the street very often, okay? Yet, again, and just so you understand, once upon a time, I had a long beard and a black hat. So I studied the Torah, the Old Testament. I studied the Talmud. I could have been a rabbi had I chosen. So I've walked that line, so I know what I'm talking about. It's funny, they always bring that up. You shouldn't do prophecy. Yet in synagogue, we read a book of prophecy, as they do in many churches. They say you shouldn't contact the deceased, yet some of the biggest rabbis that have ever existed throughout history spoke to the deceased. You mentioned Jesus, as you know, who was a rabbi himself, right? So the fact of the matter is that some of my biggest critics are religious people from every religion until they need my help. And until their kid is climbing the wall and it's not a priest or a minister or a rabbi or an imam who can help them, so they come to me. So, you know, I walk the line. I never like to criticize anyone. I was once religious. But I even remember for myself, when I was religious, I was very close-minded to certain things. And it's you hit the nail right on the head when you said that they mentioned that it's kind of taboo, yet if I still had a black hat and a beard, they wouldn't be criticizing me. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's only those that fit in their idea of who should be doing it where they don't have an issue with. But I like to remind people of our religion. God talks about hidden holy people. You don't know who they are and what they look like. If you go back to the story of Abraham, 3 angels came to him after he did a circumcision. I think he was 98 or 99 years old. They were beggars in the desert, right? But they ended up being 3 angels. So we can't judge people by the cover, by the book cover. You got to open the book and see who they are. So I agree with you 100%. So we're not bothering the dead. There is no concept of time in the spirit world. Time and space don't exist. They want to answer, they'll answer. They don't, they won't. And you also said it right. They visit us all the time, very often in dreams. Because when we dream, we're opening the door to the spirit world. Right? So, one of the biggest things with religion is that you're bothering them. We're not bothering them. They can choose, they have free will. They could choose to answer or not answer either.
We got a couple questions here in the chat. I'm going to try to translate some of these to you. So Christy wants to know, let's see, about angelic experiences. And I think you kind of touched on it just a little bit as far as like when you do an exorcism, some people see Jesus or they see angels and stuff like that. And before you go in and you work with these angelic entities, and she wants to know, do they assist in the exorcism? Do you ask for Jesus to be present? Do you ask for Michael to be present? And do they assist with these exorcisms?
Absolutely. And again, I have to say it's interesting because in modern day right now, it's weird to hear someone like me. I'm a Jew, but the person I work closely with is Jesus, right? And I always remind people, well, he was a Jew too, so it makes sense. But the fact of the matter is, I can't do it alone. It's not like we see in the movie. I'm not throwing holy water. I'm not beating a person because all I'd be doing is hurting the person. I'm not burning sage. I'm not quoting anything from the Bible. Jesus or angels literally use my body. And how do I fight evil? How do I fight the darkness? Light shoots out of my hands. Jesus's light will literally shoot out. People have witnessed it. So I mentioned I get stigmata. Why do I get the stigmata? And again, there's many people who have witnessed it. I need a hole in my hand for light to come out of my hand. It makes sense, right? So the question is fantastic. I can't do the exorcism. It's not me. My body is what's doing it, but it's literally Jesus or an angel that is doing the exorcism through my body. So without them, I cannot do an exorcism. We don't have the power to combat a powerful demon that was strong enough to take a body. I'm just a man. I'm the tool that they use to do the exorcism, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think that kind of gives us a door into what some people call it in the psychic medium community, channeling. Using your body as a vessel, as you said, a vehicle or a channel for light, for energy, for Christ to come through. When people use it for all types of other spirits, like they almost kind of turn their body into a Ouija board in a sense. But it's what's the difference there? So like versus like opening up your body to channel Ra or to channel these ancient sun gods or whatever the case is. Like, what's the difference in doing that and people claiming to do that? And they'll get prophetic messages. There's energy that comes, all kind of weird stuff. And the same thing kind of happens with Christ, though. When you open up your body, your mind to channel Christ, to channel love, to channel the angelic, is there a difference there? Is there a taboo, or is it the same thing?
All of the above, and I'll explain why. As we talked about, it could be very dangerous. Based on what I do and who I am, I know who's using my body to do what. When we simply open up, any entity can say they're Buddha, they're Ra, they're Jesus, or whoever the case may be, but the average person isn't at a level where they're able to determine. I mean, I've met many, many mediums and psychics who tell me I get messages from my spirit guides. And I tell them, well, who are your spirit guides? Can you name them? 99% of them have absolutely no clue who they're talking to. Now, it's one thing to simply talk to someone and get a message. It's another thing to let that entity into your body. So I think that's the only difference. That's where the danger comes in, is can people be 100% sure of exactly who they're channeling, if you follow what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And the only entity that ever touches my body is either Jesus or an archangel. And when I get messages from the deceased, when I get messages from angels in a clairvoyant or what you might call a psychic session, I don't channel any spirits. I get direct messages. Mm-hmm. There's absolutely no channeling. The only time anything touches my body is when I'm doing an exorcism or if I need to try to heal someone. And when it comes to healing, it's also Jesus or an angel. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I don't claim that I could walk around and heal everyone. I can't. I've healed many, many people with my hands. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But again, it's not me. It's either Jesus or an angel that uses my body. So to answer your question, channeling is channeling. But we need to be very, very careful when we do it, how we do it, and who it is we think that we're actually channeling.
With that, I think you learn, again, everything is energy. Everything is energy. You get a vibe. There's
Yes.
a feeling, hey, something's not right. I don't feel good about this. You know what I'm saying? There's something that you learn, and that's the essence, the energy, the vibration, if you will. You can feel it. And these angels, energies are essences as well. They carry vibrations. You can feel when they're there. Your body has hair, which is an antenna that alerts you that something's here. The temperature in the room changes and you get chill bumps. There's a lot of different ways to know when it's a spider sense, a sixth sense, something fishy's going on. But you learn these energies. There's a spirit of fear. You can tell, like an overwhelming sense of fear comes out of nowhere. Like, there's no reason for you to feel that way. It could be used for good and for bad. Like, it can be used in a realm of intimidation, or it can be used like a healthy fear. Hey, be careful. This ain't nothing to play with. Tread lightly. And but with these spirits that carry an essence or a vibration or feeling, you get used to them. You know who they are. You know when they show up. Many people will walk into a church building and they'll feel the presence of God. It's a familiar, beautiful, euphoria, peaceful. There's no darkness there. There's only light. You can walk into a lot of churches or holy places or places where people are doing energy work, and you can feel the peace in that atmosphere and what has happened. Maybe the same thing for walking into a haunted house, a place where people have done a lot of seances and made pacts with demons, or somebody was murdered in this house, or whatever the case is. You can feel the vibration and essence of it. So you kind of learn the spirits. And so you get familiar, right? When an evil spirit's around, you kind of know the protocol. You can feel it, right? Do you get that
Absolutely.
as well in your body, and you can understand it?
100%. I could be driving to a haunted home. I live a little bit off the island of Montreal, so a lot of my clients are on the island. So it might take me 45 minutes, an hour to get to a home. Half hour away, I could even start feeling where I'm going somewhere that's evil. Okay? And as human beings, we all have that ability, that sixth sense, that intuition. We all have it. Where the problem gets in is, as humans, we're not always smart. We don't always listen to it, right? And you're 100% right. Everything is energy. Everything is a vibration. But with the hardships of everyday life, the bombardment that we all constantly get in our everyday lives coming from a ton of different sources, it's not always easy to listen to that intuition and that sixth sense, or to properly comprehend or feel the vibration. When we're at a good place, absolutely. And I always tell people, you go into a room, you feel something's off, get out of there. Without a doubt, listen to your intuition. You can feel the vibration 100%.
Yeah, that was, man, you know, and I don't think that any of this stuff is a respecter of persons, right? Like it only works for angels or it only works for Christians, right? It's kind of like a universal energy code, and some people are more sensitive to it even from birth, and people kind of have these taboo moments, and you can look back over your life. And I remember like doing like drug deals and stuff, or going to buy drugs, and we would pull up at somebody's house and be like, this just ain't right, man. This ain't something. This is fishy. These are some bad people. We got to be careful. We need to leave. I'm not going. You know what I'm saying? You have these premonitions, if you will, and you can kind of see what's going to happen. You see ahead of time. You know, hold on, wait, we can't do this. You've already played it out. Like that's a supernatural ability. People don't even know it. They just like, oh, I just have a weird feeling, but that's a supernatural ability, right?
Absolutely, 100%. Like I said, not everyone has to do what I do. Every single human being has a soul. It comes from God. Therefore, we all have a certain ability to feel, to see, and to understand. And again, some of us are more in tune to that energy and that vibration. Others are more open to it, absolutely. But everyone has the possibility and the ability to tune into it, to feel those things. But again, we have to listen to ourselves when we do. And you're right, it's not about being a Jew or a Christian or being white or being black or whatnot. I always tell people, like here in Quebec, we have what's called Hydro-Quebec. Now, Hydro-Quebec is the energy. It feeds actually half of the United States eastern seaboard with electricity. It's actually coming from Canada, where I am. So I always say we're like a light bulb, and God is putting in each of us his electricity. So regardless of who we are or where we come from, we all have a piece of God inside us. Regardless the color or the shape of the light bulb, it's getting electricity, right? And I think it's a mistake that a lot of people make from all sides of the fence, where we're better than them. You know, our way is the only way. Our way is the right way. And one of the things I learned, I'm 45 now, I still have a lot to learn. One of the things I learned is we all come from the same place. What we do with it, that determines whether we're good or bad. Are we using any gift we have, whether it's to sing, to draw, to be a speaker like yourself, to spread messages, are we using it for positive or for negative? And that's what determines whether or not we're a good or a bad person.
Yeah, again, going back to energy, it's no respecter of person. It just is. You know, it's people who use it for good. People use it for bad. It's like the life force, the essence. We'll call it the Holy Spirit, if you will. And people are like, no, you can't use the Holy Spirit for bad. Want to bet? There's people who do it all the time. Now, it's a dangerous thing to do. It's very dangerous. You know, there's judgments that come along with that. In the end, once you get found out, you're done. It's over. But there's people who do it in churches all across America. Again, you see rabbis and people who kind of have a form of godliness but deny the power thereof. Like, you know, and what about people who get into this stuff? Maybe some of these ghost hunters and stuff who don't bring God or the light into this, or Jesus or anything like that. Is that dangerous to not bring in Christ into these experiences?
Absolutely amazing question. And the answer is yes, because I always tell people there's two sides to every coin. If you're not bringing the light, if you're not bringing God into it, there's only one other side that's going to come into it. And you can't play around in the spirit world. You can't be part of the spirit realm without being part of one of the two sides. So any of these people who are not bringing God into it, it's the other side guaranteed. And I have people come and see me every day. And one of the things they always say to me, Jared, why is it I've seen 20, 25, 30, 50 people over the years? You're the only one who speaks about God. And you know what my answer is? And it's not because I'm patting myself on the back. I'm not. And it's not because I'm better than anyone else. But my answer is, maybe I'm the only one you saw who's actually dealing with God. Because if you ain't talking about God, chances are you ain't dealing with God. So your question is spot on. You hit it on right on the nail. If they ain't dealing with God, they can only be dealing with one other side.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because Jesus was kind of accused of that, right? When Jesus was casting out demons, some of the rabbis, some of the Pharisees came up and said, hey, the only reason you're casting out these demons listen to you is because you're affiliated with them. You're in cahoots with Satan, and then Jesus kind of said, hold on, Satan would never cast out Satan. A kingdom divided against itself shall not stand. So they tried to accuse him of doing that, but very well, it may seem that some people are doing that, and some people are in cahoots with these spirits and have different pacts and things like that with these entities as well. Let me ask you about this. Here's something that, we've heard a lot, especially on like Coast to Coast AM, when they talk to some of the big named exorcists, right? They talk about, I think it was Father Malachi Martin talks about that the life expectancy of a true exorcist is only a couple of years. Like once you really get into and start dealing with the darkness, and this is coming definitely from a Catholic perspective, but they say that once you start you have a target on your back, and there's almost like you're gonna go mad, it's gonna take a toll on your body, and they really look at it as almost like signing up to die. If you become an exorcist, that you're going to deteriorate quick dealing with these spirits, and they're going to come after you. Would you believe that to be true? Do you think that, I feel like that's a fear statement. I don't think it's true, but what would you say? It's a big statement. A lot of them say that. So it has to be this. I think it kind of makes it to where like you want to make sure that you've done the homework, and you're really, I think following Christ is a petition, or just a call to die daily, even though, right? Dying to yourself, dying to your will, and you have to walk a certain line. So that's part of it. You can't partake of this. You can't go there. You can't partake in this conversation, because that these entities kind of hang around these type of vibrational interest, if you will. So the life expectancy, that quote, what do you think about that?
Wow. I'm going to tell you this. I believe there is some truth to what they say. I will not agree 100%. Honestly, my body is breaking down. It's taking a terrible, terrible toll on my body. That being said, a lot of these people choose to be exorcists. Okay? I was chosen. I didn't choose to go into it. And people who know me would say that at some point, I'm almost like a rock. I feel the emotion, but I don't show it. And it's almost as if I've been prepared my whole life to go into battle day after day the way that I do. Now, yes, my body's breaking down. Yes, it plays on my mind. Yes, it plays on my soul. Like I said before, it's a very, very big sacrifice and a heavy burden. Would I say that it's only a few years lifespan? No, I wouldn't say that. That being said, I can understand where they're coming from. Just to see what they see or what I see on a daily basis is enough to make the average human want to go into a corner and never come out. So there is some truth to what they say.
That's an interesting thing to explore too, because I've had a couple of people on here who have daily encounters like yourself. I can look back over my life, and it's like I've had so many as well of like spiritual, supernatural, otherworldly, demons, angels, ghosts, fairies, like you name it, all of these encounters. And I've interviewed other people with hundreds of encounters, and then we've talked to people who haven't had any. And the weird thing is when they're a specialist, they're an expert in the field, and like they've written books, but they've never had a supernatural or paranormal encounter. And I'm left just scratching my head, like, hold on, like, you know what I'm saying? It almost seems like a lot of this is theory for you. What is it that someone like me or yourself or a lot of other people who have had so many, it's almost like you're spoiled. It's a daily thing, but then other people, they're oblivious to it. is there like a genetic disposition that kind of goes on where you, again, you know, I chose you from your mother's womb type deal? God, like how does that work when someone has it's almost like, again, we're spoiled. We've had so many, you know, if you count it as a blessing to be, I do, you know, a blessing and a curse maybe at the same time.
Well, first of all, that's another great question, and I do see it as a blessing. You know, even when I'm in the middle of a stigmata session where I'm screaming out in pain, I see it as a blessing because I know it comes from above. So yes, it is a blessing, and I think why some of us are more in tune to it, some of us will have these experiences and others don't, is you have to believe. And there's a lot of people who claim to be experts, excuse my language, who don't know shit. It's like someone who talks about Israel, the Middle East, who's never been there. Someone who writes a book on diets, like Dr. Atkins, the man died, he was obese. So I'm not taking advice from a man who died when he was obese telling me what I should be eating, right? Or someone who writes a book about marriage who's been divorced 7 times. I don't want your opinion. Thank you very much. So a lot of these experts really have no clue what they're talking about. And you're right. It's theory, okay? And what sets you and I and many others apart from those who don't have experiences, not only do we believe, but because we're open to the energy, we're in tune to understanding that there is energy and that there is vibration. So we're open to it. It's only natural that entities and other energy will gravitate towards us, right? It's like the battery, kind of like the negative and the positive are 2 magnets. So when we're open to that energy, it's natural that energy will gravitate our way. Someone who's not open, even if it's right in front of their face, they won't even notice.
It's like if you build it, they will come. And you have to build the framework for the belief system to kind of have the energy fill it in. And it shows you that literally all things are possible. Like if you can believe it, if you can imagine it, then you can manifest it and it can show. Like there's entities and things that, you know, we don't even know exists, that we can't, you know, their thought forms, their vibrations, the Bible calls them strongholds and things like that. And we think that they all look like this. They all look like these gremlins, or they all look like a ghost, or whatever the case is. And there's so many entities and angels. Hebrews says that we entertain angels unaware, that there are, you know, we encounter people who are messengers of God, and they just show up in your life to bring about a message or to open a door for you even, you know, and I think we encountered the divine like that on many occasions without even knowing it. And again, like the portion that you've been given and you look into, it gets really deep, but even that is only its portion, right?
Absolutely, 100%. And you know, look, I'm just plugging in my phone here so we can get, if we can, a little more juice on my phone before it dies. You know, look, what I'm going to say is that I wish more people would get in tune. I wish more people would open up to getting out of what I call the matrix. And we really are living in a matrix, and it's not a positive thing, right? You know, as Keanu Reeves himself said, he said the Matrix is a documentary. And I believe it 100%. And I think people need to get their head out of their iPhones and their iPads and out of the computer and even out of certain books. And they need to look around them. They need to start feeling. They need to start seeing with their soul. They need to start feeling that energy with their body. And just to give you an example, I've lost a lot of my eyesight, especially in one of my eyes. It's almost completely gone. And one of the reasons is I see a lot more with my soul now than I do with my eyes. Right? So obviously I have to be careful when I'm on the motorcycle. Because it's not my soul that's going to save me when I'm on the motorcycle. But I think what people really need to start doing, and as this battle approaches, they need to start feeling what's right and what's wrong, as opposed to listening to what they're told is right and wrong.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. A lot of people, you know, when it comes to religion in and of itself, it's right because you were told that it was right, you know, and you were told that this is what is and what isn't. And I think many of us are, you know, from birth even, we've kind of always questioned the narrative, and then we've kind of set ourselves up to explore the higher dimensions and the other realms and things like that are just opened up to us. For me, it was an experience. It was an encounter when I was a kid that really opened up those doors. Like I had the sleep paralysis thing happen to me when I was like 4 years old, and it stuck with me my whole life, and it always brought me back to what the hell was that? And it would lead me to watch movies. It would lead me to, be into things, or even ask those questions at parties, and other people say, yeah, I've had that happen too. And really trying to get to the bottom of something that happened when I was 4 that opened up the door to do what I'm doing today, even, right? Having a conversation with you about all of this kind of stuff. There's some things that have happened when it comes to maybe even that topic of sleep paralysis and shadow beings and demons. And we've heard so many names of what these entities are. They appear in different forms. The man with the top hat and a trench coat appearing in your room. Who are these people? Have you ever had any personal encounters with them, or have you ever had to help people who were having these encounters as well? These sleep paralysis?
Yes. I kill them every week. And what's funny is I did a video about sleep paralysis, and the medical institution will tell people that it's a normal condition, even though they can't really explain it.
Yeah.
Call bullshit. Sleep paralysis, very simply put, is when an entity is holding down someone. Sometimes you could feel them on you. Sometimes the person can't breathe. Sometimes they can't speak. And at the end of the day, I get so many phone calls from people who suffer sleep paralysis, and it never goes away because they tell a doctor, and the doctor says this is simply a condition. You can't fight this with a pill or medication. Sleep paralysis happens all the time. It happens to millions and millions of people. And in my opinion, in my experience, it is always, as you called it, a shadow person, an entity, a demon that is up to no good, that is holding someone down, harming them, etc., etc. And I've had people in my office, 6'5". These are people collecting money in the streets, tough people. Okay, you hit them with a baseball bat, the bat's going to break, and they're whimpering in my office because they're being held down by something at night that they can't see.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're 100% right. It is absolutely shadow people, whether it's a man with a top hat and a trench coat, whether it's a creature, half animal, half human. They could take many different shapes, as you pointed out earlier, many different forms. They can appear a million different ways. But I would urge anyone who suffers sleep paralysis, as you did as a kid, to reach out to someone who knows what they're doing in the spiritual field for help, because sometimes this ends very, very bad. People can get killed during sleep paralysis. They get choked. They can't breathe. We hear stories all the time. Healthy people waking up, they're dying in the middle of the night while they're sleeping. So it's very, very dangerous.
Yeah, it's interesting when it comes down to, the medical community saying, yeah, it's something that happens, your mind wakes up while your body's still asleep. So you're cognitive, you can look around, but you can't move, and you just get scared, right? Okay, if that's real, why is there always a demon in the room?
There you go.
Why is there always a demon watching me in the corner or laying on my chest? Well, it's just the mind, and you just get scared, and you think that because you're still kind of in between the waking and sleep states. Okay, well, why isn't a unicorn? Why isn't it children? Why isn't it something beautiful, something fun? Why is it always these grotesque entities that are trying to, mess with me and scare me? Why is it's something beautiful? And that's one of the things, too, that, you know what I'm saying? It makes you look into it a little bit more. Hold on. There would be something different. There would be elephants in my room. I would wake up and there's just all these elephants, right? No, that's not the case. They're little monsters and grotesque entities, right?
Correct. And keep in mind the same medical community, and not all of them feel the same way. There are brave people in the medical community who have stood up and said, hold on a second, there's more truth to what we're being told or what we're telling people. But it's the same medical community that always diagnoses somebody with schizophrenia or another mental disease when they tell you they feel they're possessed or they're hearing voices. And in my humble opinion, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, but in my opinion, out of most people that I've ever met who are diagnosed with a severe mental illness, these people were not sick, they were possessed. And I truly believe that most people in a mental institute are not sick, they're possessed. They're telling you, I'm hearing voices, the thing is telling me to do things, and they're 100% accurate. I always tell a psychiatrist, how does it explain them speaking a foreign language? They would still need to know that language to be able to speak it. It wouldn't be their alter personality speaking that language. How is it their eyes are black? Why do they have superhuman strength? And you're never going to get an answer. So it's the same people telling you, well, don't worry about it. Sleep paralysis is okay. It's just a condition. So I'm not surprised by that at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you, man. It's there's I think in some cases I think that science is helping us, like the scientific community is giving us the science behind the spirituality. Like sometimes they're proving our religious beliefs or this creation of God or whatever is going on. Like there's some interesting stuff being said, but then a lot of them kind of work to like their agenda is to disprove the supernatural. Oh, that's just this. That's just what it is. It's not God. It's not an angel. It's just your mind playing tricks on you. Some would say, well, it's just DMT. There's DMT released in your brain when you go to sleep, and it's allowing you to see this weird stuff or whatever. And they're just trying to explain it away with scientific, methodology. I think there's a marriage there. I think that there is some like scientific reasons why we believe certain things. And I think that our spirituality is very primitive. It's very old, and it evolves over the years. Now we have some kind of framework from the scientific community for those who are, even when people don't know it. Like, I like that because they don't know that they're giving some, validity to your faith and for some of the things that you experience on a daily basis, but they are, and it happens all the time. It's very interesting.
Agreed, and it does go hand in hand. Spirituality and science, when used properly, complement each other. And I'll take Albert Einstein as a perfect example, one of the greatest scientists that has ever lived, or at least one of them. He said at the end of his life, the more I studied, the more I got into science, I've come to the conclusion at the end of my life that there must be a God, because science could not explain everything that I've seen. So the point being is that science and spirituality can absolutely go hand in hand in proving the same things, but coming from two different angles. It's like if you go to the Old Testament, we have something called the Talmud, where you have two rabbis debating a point, and they're always arguing. So people say, how can they be so smart if they're always arguing? And my answer is very simple. They're both right. Depending from what angle they're coming from, they're seeing it from their perspective and their point of view. So from a scientific point of view, they can be right just as we are from a spiritual point of view.
Yep. Good stuff. Well, his new book is Heaven's Messenger. Jared, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'll link the book at TruthSeekah.com. People will be able to go straight to the website and get a copy of the book. It has a 5-star rating on Amazon as well right now, man. Thanks so much for this interview. I really enjoyed hanging out with you. And, I look forward to working with you more, man. The next time you put out a book or you want to come on here and talk about some of these experiences, man, the platform is open. Thanks so much for hanging out.
Awesome. I really appreciate it. God bless you for doing what you do. Truth Seeker, you're seeking the truth. That's what we all got to do. I want to thank your audience for being part of this. And once again, it was an honor and a pleasure to be on. Thank you so much.
All right, brother. Many blessings. Thanks so much. We'll do it again.
All right. Peace. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Jared, Heaven's Messenger, ladies and gentlemen. Interesting, man. I like the paranormal conversations. Again, I think that it proves not only God or faith, but that something outside of ourselves exists. And it gets into a lot of things too, right? Because we're talking about like these things kind of fill in your framework, your ability to believe. If you believe it, then you can receive it. And then you say, okay, I believe in this. And then you begin to see it everywhere. Again, when people start researching the Illuminati, symbolism, Masonic orders, and then you step out into any city and you're looking at the architecture and you're looking at the symbolisms and the signs, and you begin to like be overwhelmed because the evidence is everywhere. I can't believe nobody knows this. I can't believe nobody's seen these pentagrams and these all-seeing eyes everywhere and these triangles. Why is every symbol a triangle? Why is every car company named after star gods? Like, why is it? You start seeing all this stuff because you're open to it. The research and the ability, what you've looked at has opened up your mind to receive that information. And now you see it everywhere. You don't see, you go out and buy a red car, a red Ford Fusion, and now you're seeing them everywhere. Why is all these? I buy the car, now everybody else buys the car. No, these cars have been out there. Now your consciousness is open to seeing them everywhere because now you have one, and you start looking for them, and you start seeing it everywhere. So you're able to see the connections and see the dots as your framework expands. I think that's a really deep concept to look into, to see that all of this stuff comes out of the imagination or the creative mind, that we create for ourselves these experiences. The law of attraction, manifestation, and it goes back to our subconscious mind and retraining our subconscious mind to expect good things. I mean, there's a lot of people who expect bad stuff. They're looking for people to rip them off. They're looking for people to gossip about them. Like, I've been there. That's not good. That's not healthy. You're looking for people to you like waiting for people to leave you out of your life. And then when people walk out of your life, and then when you find, conflict with someone, you go ahead and write them off because you're so used to it, and you begin to look for it. You don't have lasting relationships. You don't have lasting jobs. You go to jobs and you only work there for a short period of time and you're gone. There's no stability. You begin to look for these things, and it becomes a adaptive process for you, and it becomes your norm. One night stand after one night. You never can find people, and it's like retraining your subconscious mind. What about start looking for blessings everywhere? What about like changing your mind, just trying it, instead of looking for people to leave you? Look for strong relationships. Look for, people who are going to complement what you do, who are going to complement your weaknesses, a team, a friendship of people. Like, start looking for this stuff, and then you start seeing it everywhere. Oh my God, there's all these encouraging people with me. There's all these people who are they want to see me succeed. Like, you may be in a situation where everybody around you wants you to fail. They're waiting for you to fail. Your mom, your grandmother, your best friend, they all want to see you fail. That's weird, right? Get out of that. Change your thinking. Look for the people around you that want to see you win. They're out there, man. They exist. Build that tribe. Find that framework of people. Step into that. And then create from that place. Right? The belief. Man, we've got all of these like ungodly beliefs is what we call them. Destructive behaviors, or these subconscious thoughts that are working against us. Like, your mind is working against you. Your mind is so powerful that it creates your reality. Your expectation. What are you expecting? Some of y'all ain't expecting nothing. You just don't. It's just a default. Hey, come whatever may. I don't care. It is what it is. I've just accepted my lot. The crazy thing is, like, with age, it comes even faster. And you just kind of set into your stinking thinking. You kind of set into, well, this is the way everything is. But there's somewhere in that, there's a little kid screaming, no, there's got to be more. I'm going to try it. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to try it. Find that voice, man, the voice of that inner child. And let it speak, man. Find that love, recapture it, and manifest it. He talked about the shamanism, or what a shaman is, or a walker between the worlds. I think that, again, a shaman is one who can pull things out of those states and manifest it into your reality. Instead of always being someone with a hand out. Give something away. Instead of looking for people to bless you all the time, start blessing other people. Like, reciprocate that stuff. And then you'll find out that it just keeps coming more and more and more. It's very interesting. In the smallest, minute level, we go back to spirituality is practical. Like, all of that stuff is practical. Practical enough that it deals with your thought life. What are you thinking about? What are you entertaining? What are you listening to? Because you're going to get it. It's coming back. Like, what you entertain. And all of that stuff subconsciously is building the framework for your belief subconsciously. You don't even want to do it. Like, you want good stuff. You want good people in your life. You want friends, but you're just stuck with all these people that are working against you, man. So, again, we've seen some beautiful things in life. We're going to continue to see more. The framework is insane, man. With the realm of belief, whether it's, again, we can talk about supernatural entities, aliens, angels, fairies, gnomes, spirit beings, all of that kind of stuff. Like, are they real? Can you see them? If you're looking for them, you can see anything. Again, the Illuminati symbolism, the Masonic symbolism. Let's don't even say Illuminati. Just say Masonic symbolism. You see it everywhere because you're looking for it. You're looking for spirit entities. You're looking for demonically possessed people. There's no shortage. If you're looking, you're going to see them everywhere. People with character flaws, you're going to see it everywhere. You know, there's some people, like, when you get kind of deep in religion and you go to church and stuff like that, you start seeing people everywhere who are like stuck in that process. And then you go to church and you go to church and you look for the wrong. You're waiting to get offended. You're waiting for the pastor to say something that you don't agree with. You're waiting for the pastor to say something that contradicts your belief, and because you're deep and you're studied, you're well studied, you're waiting for that stuff. And guess what? You're going to find it. Because you're waiting for it, you're going to find it everywhere. And you're looking for it, and you find a reason not to go. Because you were looking for it the whole time. You just needed to have someone to vocalize it. Oh, I can't believe we're so past that, you know. You start looking for that stuff everywhere. And that's like a negative thing. That's like a negative flaw in your thinking. Do it for the other. Like, you can easily sit through a church sermon, even though you disagree with most of the stuff, and say, you know what, I'm gonna hold on to the good, and I'm gonna just spit out all the other stuff. I mean, you have to kind of like change your thinking to be that way. If not, you're just gonna be, especially in the truth-seeking movement or the woke community, people become very condescending, talking down, speaking down on other people, all of that kind of stuff, because of their version of the truth is the only one that's right and that kind of stuff. So, you know, it's real interesting when it comes to unpacking your framework, believing for the unbelievable stuff, right? Supernatural. Want to give a shout out, quick story, man. I ended up working with a client the other day who reached out to me for a private session, and I heard his story. It was crazy. His name's Roger, and he just did, like, I think it was 10 years in a penitentiary. And it was really weird how he found my work. He found an MP3 player while he was in jail, and it didn't have any batteries in it. He found this MP3 player that somebody left, and he put batteries in it, and it only had one song on there. And the song that was on the MP3 player was one of my songs. It was actually Neurogenesis. It was the Imaginatrix song that I have, and it talks about, like, all of the stuff that we've been talking about today, the supernatural, you know, believing in the unseen, psilocybin, you know, ETs, all kinds of stuff. And he was sitting in jail listening to this song over and over and over again, and it gave him hope, and it gave him the created awe and wonder to live again and to dream and things like that. And so when he got out, he was looking into my music and got all the music, and has been listening to my music, and then seen that I do private consultations and one-on-one. So he hit me up and booked a session with me, man. And it was just really interesting. It was the first time that, first of all, he'd been listening to, you know, my podcast and been listening to the music. Then he got to book a session. So for him, it was just awesome to talk to me and to have, you know, to ask questions, and then to just be the first person in his life that he's been able to kind of have these conversations with freely, like outside of jail, you know, because, like, didn't know anyone that he could talk about this kind of stuff with. And I introduced him to the community and did a guided meditation with him and his girl, and it was beautiful. But I thought that was interesting, man, that he found this MP3 player in jail, put batteries in it, and my music was on there, and that opened him up to just a whole nother realm of belief, and given some framework again for things that he's experienced his whole life, but you don't know who to talk to about this stuff. You know, you're going to seem crazy if you try to talk to, you know, your family at the Christmas dinner about this kind of stuff. You don't know who to talk to. So again, podcast and message boards and Discord communities and servers or whatever. This is the kind of stuff that we have the ability to take advantage of, this technology, to find a group of people, just to let people know, look, you're not alone. You're not the only one who believes in this stuff. You're not the only one who feels like you're crazy. Again, like the brother said a while ago, if you go to the doctor and say, hey, I'm hearing voices, like, you know, like what's going on? And then you don't have no framework, you know, people hear voices, you're crazy. You're a crazy person. And then you start reading the Bible, you're like, wow, these people are hearing voices all throughout the Bible and other religious texts as well. They're hearing the voices and encountering angels, and it was beautiful, benevolent voices. You have to discern the voices. The Bible says that my sheep know my voice, and a stranger's voice they will not follow. Be able to discern the voice between the voice of the Father, God, Jesus, and the deceivers. Like, there's other energies out there that want to speak to you, and they use your voice. It speaks almost in third person or first person. Like, hey, you know, you think that it's you. You think that these voices are speaking from within, of giving you all these weird ideas, and you're entertaining it, and you got to cut that stuff off. But giving some framework, again, I have a song called Voices that is talking about voices that speak to you, and the voices that come to you. But I tell you what they are. They're not, you know, at least the healthy ones, the ones that you should entertain, you know, the ones that you should, you know, this conversation with God, this conversation with the spirit realm, all of this stuff, versus the voices of demons or, you know, negative vibes, right? You got negative stuff to do or whatever. Like, don't entertain that stuff. So, you know, I'm hearing voices, seraphim, Raphaim, Malachim, you know, the angelic beings, the vibrations of love. It's a voice, it's an essence, and it speaks from within us. And we all hear the voice of God. And a lot we hear, again, it's translated through our imagination. A lot of we think, you know, spiritual experiences, premonitions, hey, I got a bad feeling, you know, all of this stuff is communicated to us, you know, and we're just trying to find some framework for it. And it could be hard. So I see a bunch of stuff coming through on the chat here. A bunch of people hanging out. Shout out to everybody hanging out. Christy Johnson, Prophetic Words. What's up, brother? The Juggalo, 509. Shout out to Davy Jones, Gothic Mystic. I seen Flying Penguin was here a while ago. Bunch of people hanging out in Twitch as well. Shout out to everybody hanging out on Twitch watching. Shout out to you guys. I took the family to see Frozen the other day, and I really wanted to see that after Christmas Eve. We went and seen it, Frozen 2, and I wanted to see it because of my good friend Chris Carter talked about it and was saying that he enjoyed it because of all of the spiritual mysticism and elementals and things like that were in it, and it kind of painted that nature was alive watching Frozen. I tell you what, man, again, when you become conscious of it, you start looking for it everywhere. Chris Carter goes to see Frozen. I mean, there's millions of people go and see the movie Frozen, Frozen 2, and they don't pick up on any of that stuff. But those who have a trained mind and a trained eye to see in the spirit, you're watching a totally different film. You know, kids are just watching Olaf and they want to laugh, and the little princesses and stuff. But like, there's little gems in this stuff, man. Disney and all of these people, they give you gems. I was talking to Steve Grant the other day. We were talking about the movie, and I really haven't heard a lot of people talk about this movie, but it's the one that's real big for me. Was The Adjustment Bureau with Matt Damon, talking about the Elohim, talking about the Watchers and the hidden hand that is controlling destiny and kind of opening up these doors and making things happen for you. And that movie was about it. And I quoted that movie in my song, The Knowing. And there's so many of them. And when you're conscious of it, you see it everywhere. You can't watch any movie and not see it. And there's people who will, again, you know, you look for the negative in everything. So when you watch these movies, all you see is the Illuminati symbolism. You see Masonic imagery. You see bad stuff or hidden meanings and messages. And that's what you see because you're looking for it. Other people are going to look for the good that they see in these movies. All of that stuff exists. You can't have one without the other. Like there's a balance of energy, and you pick what you want to look for, what you want to see. So it's up to you. To the pure, all things are pure, as the scripture says. To the impure, all things are impure. Like everything is evil. Nobody is good enough, you know. You start looking for flaws in everything, and you can find it. Whatever you're looking for, you're going to find it. Again, just knowing how powerful that is, man. Going and knowing how powerful that is. Davy Jones says he's going to see the new Star Wars tonight. Like it was a choice between the two, whether it was going to be Star Wars or Frozen. But since Chris Carter gave this long rant about Frozen 2, I made sure I went to see it. And then, we have a song about nature spirits, me and Illuminati Congo, called The Invisible Creatures of the Five Elements. And it complements it one and once. I made sure I sent that to Chris Carter as well, talking about Paracelsus and the spirits of the earth, air, fire, water. And it was interesting too, because in Frozen there was like a earth, air, fire, water, and they were like, there was this one more spirit, there was one more element that connected them all, and it was essentially the human spirit. It was essentially us, or what we have, ether, earth, air, fire, water, and ether, or breath, right, which is the spirit, which is very interesting that they're giving you this esoteric occult knowledge in this beautiful, fun-loving Disney song, which was interesting, and it was really cool. So, man, make sure y'all check that out and look for that stuff in the movie. Sometimes you got to be consciously aware. I mean, early on, I feel like when it's all new to you, like all this stuff is new, then you're more sensitive. I remember going to see The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and like having a supernatural experience watching that. And Aslan, who's a symbol of Christ, the triumphant, they kill him and he comes back and he saves the people, and the Lion of Judah, and just looking at the allegory and the symbolism all within the movies. Real interesting, right? Not everybody made those connections. Some people just seen this movie about this lion and these kids. They didn't know any of the allegory, nothing to tie together. But for someone who has done the knowledge and the research, you're watching a totally different movie. Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. We look at the Lord of the Rings, all of the myth and the magic and the supernatural that is tied into that stuff. There's a movie called The Secret of Nimsy, I think it is. Really good, with Rainn Wilson, talking about free energy and portals to the other world and stuff like that. There's so many of them out there, man. But when it's all fresh to you, it's new, and you see it everywhere. All of these movies are just giving you pieces and synchronicities and all of this stuff. It's real beautiful. So make sure y'all stir that awe and wonder up when you're watching this stuff. Like, look for it, man. Sometimes you got to look for it. Again, if you're not looking for it, you're not going to see it. You're not going to see it. You're just going to read the script, and there's a level there too of just the movie and the script for what it is. It's a good movie. You know what I'm saying? But when you're able to kind of tie those dots together, becomes a lot more magical. You almost just kind of let the divine teach you through everything, through the movies, through the conversations, through the friendships, through what's going on in your life. You're just looking for everything in your life to be an allegory. The movies that you're watching, the music that you're listening to. We got my daughter a new cell phone for Christmas, and it was so funny. Like, as she was opening it up and she's found it was a cell phone, like there was a TV on in the background, and a guy said cell phone at the same exact time that she opened her cell phone. Like, just this, like, these little things like that just kind of connect the dots, man, and just kind of let you know that you're on the right path, and you're listening for the signs and synchronicities, and they're there. Whether you create them, whether it's coming out of you. I mean, this whole experience is coming out of us with everything that you believe and everything that you've tapped into in your life. It begins to manifest and become your reality. So, you are a co-creator. Join the process. Like, be conscious. Like, understand universal law. Understand all of these laws. What do you want to call them? The universal laws, the laws of Ma'at. You know what I'm saying? The 10 Commandments. Like, there's all of these principles that are a lot older than us. And then a lot of whether it's successful people that taught these, whether they're spiritual people, whether they're people who are financially successful and you're trying to make these strides into 2020 for yourself and to try to make something happen, to create your own podcast, to create your own channel, to create your own business, to go into business being a healer and being a counselor or a spiritual conscious coach, whatever it is, man. Like, there's practical ways to do it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Look for somebody who's already doing it. And there's a lot of people out there. Again, I do one-on-one sessions and help people. And I really want to focus on that more with this coming year of really, I give you this stuff in the podcast. It comes out, we do a lot of different things, and but it's more of a bigger group. So I want to narrow it down to really bring this stuff out of you. Whether it's to teach you how to do it, whether it's to give you hands-on, one-on-one experiences with it, setting up sessions and stuff like that. I want to see people, man, step out into their best life, the dreams and visions. First, you got to recapture it. I can't capture it for you. You have to do that yourself. But once you do that, and I want to teach you how to do that, man. And I know that the podcast is definitely doing that for people. It's helping people recapture their dream. It's helping people feel uncomfortable settling for second best. They want to make sure that they take advantage of everything that God has given them in this life and bring it into fruition, those dreams, to recapture those dreams and bring them out. Again, going back to the childlike faith. Without the faith of a child, you have to embrace the kingdom of God like these little ones in order to see it play out in your life. And it works. I'm excited for 2020, man. A lot going on, a lot that we're working on right now. We're going to be working on some new music as well. I know people are waiting for that. That's a touchy subject, man, music, because again, I felt like for me personally, again, I've set the bar so high with some of these songs and the beauty and the creativity and the essence that was captured in the song. Like, it has to be that. I don't want to put out anything that's not as good as the last song. So that's kind of, sometimes that's hard to do. Everything has to line up. The producer has to come with a beat that is just as good or better than the last beat, and you always want to step it up. I definitely don't want to just throw something together and put it out there. That's just a standard for walking in perfection, if you will. We're definitely we're our own worst critics and perfectionists. But then again, you want to do everything in excellence. You don't want to just halfway do anything. You want to make sure that you put it out there. I want to do a video too. I see a lot of these videos are kind of popular. So showing the back end of YouTube and how to make money on YouTube and how much money that someone's made on YouTube. So I'm thinking about doing a video just kind of showing the back way and how much money I made in 2019 on YouTube and 2018, just to show you, look, you can do it. My numbers ain't nothing. There's people, making way more money, and even the stuff that we talk about on the podcast, most of the stuff ain't even monetizable. You get somebody on here and they're talking about, Illuminati or any of that stuff. Immediately the video is demonetized. You can't make any money from it because you're talking about sensitive topics. You're talking about Jeffrey Epstein and all this kind of stuff. We're demonetizing it. So even of me describing that, I kind of have to be careful, you know what I'm saying, because advertisers don't want to put ads on that kind of stuff. I try not to get into most of the conspiracy theories and to this weird stuff like that, but there's a niche and there's a market for what we talk about here in spirituality. Obviously there's a lot of money in it, but when advertisers come into play, there's not a lot of money there. You have to talk about technology or kids' toys. There's an 8-year-old who's made $24 million this year opening up toys. So the ad revenue and stuff like that is a lot more higher for that kind of stuff, that they can sell you toys and retarget kids and stuff like that, versus talking about spirituality and those kind of ads that come on something like this. But anyway, if that stuff interests you, let me know. I'm thinking about making a video of it, even if I put it on a different channel. I know that's not for everybody, but I really want other people to just to show you that it can be done. Like with a YouTube page, a YouTube channel, put ads on your stuff and pay your light bill for the year. You get them enough money every month or whatever to pay your light bill. At least pay half of it, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Depending on your niche, whether it's a spiritual niche or whether it's you're teaching children how to crochet. whatever it is. So thinking about doing that. Gothic Mystic says, wait, seriously, 24 million. Yeah, the little kid. Yep, the little 8-year-old boy. So with that, I'm going to say peace and shalom. Enjoyed hanging out with you guys, and always enjoy having this conversation, talking about spirituality in the process. It's always beautiful. But, man, make sure that you're encouraged, and make sure that, you know, you do the inner work, because that's what it's about. With that, I'm going to say peace and shalom. Make sure you follow my work on Patreon and partner with me there if you want to see more episodes. And, whole bunch of, I think we've been at this number for a while. We're about at like 270 episodes now. All of that stuff's available on the website. If you would like to purchase a private session consultation with me, pick my brain about how to start a podcast, whatever it is that you want to do, get with me. TruthSeekah.com, click on session. We could do a private consultation. I love to work with you. Peace, guys.
Have a book, product, or service you'd like to promote? Look no further. Ad slots and commercials are now available for you to get the word out about what you do on the TruthSeekah Podcast.
We give you what you need.
Engage the spiritual community and get yourself instantly in front of thousands of listeners who explore the spiritual, paranormal, supernatural, religious, and metaphysical realms. Have your commercial inserted into our entire archive of episodes. That includes the one with Jordan Maxwell, James Gilliland, Dr. Michael Heiser, and that weird one with Busy Bone from Bone Thugs and Harmony. Stop sleeping on yourself. Know your worth. Let's get the word out today about what you have to offer. Head on over to TruthSeekah.com and click on Advertise for more info.
Your will so much higher than mine, so much higher than mine. So much deeper than mine, so much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah Podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.